So, moving on to our next story, we are talking about something that I'm actually really happy to have happened, partially. It's funny. I'm happy. Okay, so what are we talking about today? Well, Vic Mignogna has retained legal counsel. I'm happy about that. What's weird is how this was announced and how this kind of through the internet in kind of a frenzy, but not for the way that some people are trying to claim online. Because, of course, you have people claiming online like, oh, they're in a frenzy because you're worried about getting sued. And it's like, no, people were in a frenzy because Recchietta Law, who I'm not saying anything bad about Recchietta or Nick Recchietta, either Recchietta Law or Nick Recchietta, who runs Recchietta Law. Not saying anything bad about the dude, but the issue is that he announced it on a live stream and Vic Mignogna had yet to comment at the time. So I believe the timeline, because we're reporting on this a little after the fact, 3 days in between Recchietta talking about this on live stream, creating a GoFundMe, and finally Vic Mignogna coming out and discussing this. And I think people need to understand that, like, even if Nick Recchietta was his, Vic's lawyer for years now, let's say, for all we know, you still, I feel like it's very, it's just, to post, I mean, look, I'm not a lawyer, all right? But to post on your client's behalf, before your client has discussed it, when your client is such a public figure that people are actually very, closely listening to what he has to say, I don't know. I mean, Tristan, just from the get-go, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it seems a little out of place to be, posting on his behalf. And for a GoFundMe page, I mean, I would think if, your legal representation posts about representing you, then fine. But this one was, like you said, a GoFundMe page for the, legal representation. And then Vic then has to come out later to say that, this wasn't my idea. This was posted and put in place by a friend. I'm not making any money out of this. It's going to, the legal fees, and then anything he makes past that, it would be going to a charity fund.
Yes. Now, you've jumped the gun there, but that's okay because we have the picture queued up either way. So as you guys can see, no, we have it already queued up, so it's fine. But you immediately went to the statement, and I'm like, whoa, Nelly. We are not at the statement yet, but that's okay, Tristan. So, as you can see, Vic Mignogna's statement is right in front of us. If you're listening to the podcast, then we'll read it out to you. Vic Mignogna says, "Words cannot express the depth of my gratitude for all the kindness and support that has been shown to me over the last few weeks. I had hoped that my apologies and acknowledgments, both public and private, would be received, but I now have very reluctantly retained a law firm as my last and only recourse to attempt to salvage my reputation and my 20-year career in this industry." So again, I have no problem with him trying to retain a law firm. That's good. Now, we will discuss whether or not, like, just our own personal opinions on who we think he should sue and shouldn't sue, just for his own personal image that he's claiming to try to get back. But before we get to that, though, I just want to say, again, it's a very strange thing when looking at the earlier part where he's saying, like, okay, so starting off, words cannot express the depth of my gratitude for all the kindness and support that has been shown to me over the last few weeks. Again, I feel like it's just odd because it's just this very, I don't know, maybe it's because we're not huge public figures, but it's this very weird game of trying to play of thank you to my fans, but also I'm trying to refute these claims. And it's a very weird, I don't know, like, I just feel like they should always be two separate statements. Anyway, but again, I'm not his lawyer, so if his lawyer told him to put that out, I trust his lawyer over me in that case. So, but then when he had said, I had hoped that my apologies and acknowledgments, both public and private, would be received. So he says that, and separately you're like, oh, okay, whatever. But then adding it on to, but I have now very reluctantly retained a law firm as my last and only recourse to attempt to salvage, and, I read it before, but I'm confused because I'm like, wait, like, I don't know, like, Tristan, when put together, does it not come off as like, well, I hoped you guys accepted my apologies, but I guess not, so now I'm retaining a lawyer. And I'm not trying to say that he's a bad guy in that regard, like he's trying to, like, sue people into oblivion just because they've been mean to him. I'm just confused because, like, it just sounds weird put together. Am I wrong, Tristan?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
I mean,
like, I'm not trying to paint him out as the devil. It's just like when he says, like,
I feel like
I don't know.
You have these, like, especially in this instance, allegations of this nature against you, you'd think it would be more of your first objective to go for legal counsel,
right?
Instead of just relying on like your own public apology.
Yeah. I don't know. It's very hard too because you can't.
Me, maybe.
But... Yeah. No, no. That's fair, and also the fact that like he can't acknowledge every single type of allegation that he's had in these 2 paragraphs. They're only 2 paragraphs, right. So like I don't expect him to acknowledge every single one again. It's just, I don't know, it's just 2 strange sentences being put together, but you guys can totally tell me that I'm reading into it, and I think that would be reading into it too much, and you know what, that potentially would be fair. It's just a very weird 2 sentences to put together, and then he continues on to say, a friend expressed a desire to set up a GoFundMe for legal expenses. I approved his kind offer and am so grateful, but I am not managing it, nor will I personally receive any of it. Any surplus will go to the Salvation Army Dallas Domestic Violence and Abuse Shelters. So he ends the comment there. Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. There's actually a little bit more. My apologies. Let me actually bring this up. He then says right down here that he says, I hold no malice towards anyone. I just love my work and the fans and sincerely wish to continue. Now, what's weird is this, right? So this is just a weird side note thing. I don't know who's telling him he can't continue. And hear me out, right? I know some people are out there going to be like, Rooster Teeth and Funimation, duh. But they're not the only 2 games in town.
Right.
So, like, Vic could sit back, and I'm pretty, like, I don't, like, unless you can tell me, and I don't mean you personally, Tristan, just someone out there, that, like, Viz has dropped him. We have no, like, Viz could still hire him.
Right.
Anyone can still potentially hire him if they want to. So, I don't know why... he's like, and even for video games too, like if he wants to step away from anime and just do video games, like I'm pretty sure he has done games in LA. I remember a while ago, Tristan, you and I talked about him actually doing games a lot a few years back, because we were at a friend's house and they were playing a game, and I was like, is that Vic Mignogna? And then I legally because he has to be in everything anime and video game, I heard Johnny Young Bosch. I heard his voice too, and I was like, oh well, legally he has to be here. But no, yeah, it's just it's something that I'm very happy about, though. Vic Mignogna retaining legal counsel, because this should always have been something that was talked about in a court of law, if needed to be. The issue is that a lot, as some people might not know, because we've talked about this before, but it's been a while. A lot of these accusations are stuff that, sadly, the statute of limitations are up. Right, so that woman that came out, I believe her name was Michelle. We talked about her during the last Kick Vic accusation follow-up. She cannot just come out and say, I'm going to sue him for criminally. It's like, no, that happened in '89. I'm super sure that 30 years later, you can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
So, it's a thing where she can come out and tell her story, and if you believe it, okay. If you don't believe it, okay. But that cannot affect Vic Mignogna legally. And also, it's not like that's what stopped him from working at Funimation, because Michelle never worked at Funimation or Rooster Teeth, so she doesn't have any ties to them, so that didn't really affect them at all, especially because I'm pretty sure she came out with her story after Funimation let him go, so literally has nothing to do with the investigation. Anyway, so yeah, I have no problem with him retaining legal counsel. The problem is 2 things. 1, fans are immediately saying he's going to sue. When you retain legal counsel, that's something that anyone who has money in the entertainment world who's a public figure should have anyway.
Right.
Just in case there's like a snafu, like a social media PR snafu, you should have a lawyer on cue just in case, right? Not on cue, that's funny, but on retainer just in case. Now, not everyone can afford that, of course, especially even if you are, in the entertainment industry and you are a public figure. If you're a YouTuber like us, we don't make jack shit. So we don't public retainer. I don't even have like a mouth retainer. Like I can't fucking do shit. Look at these teeth, fucked up. So no, but Tristan, your silence says everything, really.
Okay.
You could have easily said, no, Matt, you're beautiful inside and out. But no.
And once again, your silence is starting to...
But anyway, look, man, I'm just trying to say this, right? That's the first thing. So people are immediately going like, you're going to get sued, so hope you're happy getting sued. Not like to us directly, but to actually a little bit to us, but mostly to a lot of other people who've actually come out and talked about Vic and who've reported the news, which actually, funnily enough, reporting the news, not illegal. But That's the first thing. The second thing that people have said is that, you know, about like, oh, not only is he going to sue, but I'm hoping he sues everybody. Now, I'm hoping he doesn't. Now, it's kind of funny because some people are immediately going to be like, well, you mean not you, right? Here's the thing, right? I think that I would have no problem with him if for some reason he was like, oh, we want to sue people who have been reporting on us. And somehow we're thrown in there because we're not people who have accused him. We are not alleged victims of Vic Mignogna. So what I'm trying to get at here is this, Tristan. When going to, you know, when going to the pictures, I have Recchietta Law's Google search up. But no, when going to his, specifically to his statement, when he's saying, hey, I have this law firm as my last and only recourse to attempt to salvage my reputation. If you're going to say, and then I'm going to sue Monica Real, nah, dude, that's going to ruin your reputation. Like, you have to, like, I'm not his lawyer. I'm just saying that if he's talking about, I want to salvage my reputation, you got to sue Funimation and Rooster Teeth, right? The people who let you go. And maybe a con, potentially, if you can. You got to sue them. Because if you're going to sue some of the people that are accusing you, I don't think people are going to think, even, like, it doesn't matter who it is, right? If you're trying to sue the people that have accused you, you're going to have people who either are friends of the accused or who immediately believe the accused no matter what, who are like, wait, so I'm not going to support you. Like, in any anime you do get potentially hired in the future because you actually went out and sued the people that are alleging you did this to them.
Right.
So look, regardless of what you think about these people, regardless of what you think about Vic Mignogna, I'm just saying that if he wants to attempt to salvage his reputation, you gotta sue the people that hired you. But then, of course, the problem that comes with suing the people that hired you, and Tristan, I'm pretty sure you and I have talked about this both on and off the podcast, is that Funimation is in Texas, which is a right-to-work state, which means that they can fire you over anything. Like, I don't even know if there's protections against people who are LGBTQ in that community or who are minorities like myself. So I don't know if, like, a company could say in Texas, because, again, it's a right-to-work state, yeah, you're a bit too Hispanic for us, Matt. And I'd sit there with my extremely large mustache and sombrero and say, no, I don't. That's terrible. But then I'm Hispanic, though. Remember that. So, but still,
I never said you were.
I was talking to the general you, not you, Tristan. Oh, now Tristan comes in and says something, but not when I'm talking about my own shortcomings with my looks. No, but seriously though, right? Seriously though, all terrible jokes aside, I legitimately don't know if a company in Texas could do that. Right? Yeah. Because, again, they have the right to fire you whenever they deem fit. And Vic Mignogna and other voice actors who work for Funimation are not employees. They're contracted. So technically, they didn't fire him from all the anime ever. And that's not even me being facetious. It's me being accurate. They only fired him from Moreau's Monokian. They only fired him from that because that was his only current contract with Funimation. They didn't fire him from Dragon Ball Super Broly. He already got paid for that. And Dragon Ball Super has not come back yet officially by Toei. We talked about that. Toei was like, no, we're not working on them right now. And you and I were like, they said right now. What does that mean? But no, my whole thing, dude, is that, like, they aren't working on that right now, allegedly. So we don't even know if Broly is coming back in Dragon Ball Super. So, you know, the anime show, not the movie, or any future movies as well. So, like, Vic Mignogna currently with Funimation is only under that contract, and I don't know what Rooster Teeth is doing. I'm pretty sure they're in Texas as well, but I don't know how they hire people, if they're union or not. Like, I don't know what's going. Although if they're hiring Vic Mignogna and his face is there, and Funimation is also hiring him and his face is there, Vic Mignogna might be someone who doesn't work union. Although Vic has worked in LA on video games, and those are unions, so he might have one of those dual. I forgot what they call them, but there are some people that file their taxes both in union and out of union. Right. I believe it screws them over a little bit more, but for someone to have the fluidity of being able to go to Texas to dub with Funimation and then go to LA to do video games, for someone like Vic or other people who also do very well on the con circuit, they're like, it works well for me. So anyway, My point being, though, is I have no problem with him retaining legal counsel, but he has to be very careful if he is suing someone, who he sues.
Yeah.
Because if he sues, if he sues the alleged victims, that doesn't make you look good. If he sues Funimation, I'm not a lawyer, but I do know the facts about where Funimation works and the rights of, and some of the rights for workers in Texas, and also how they hire people at Funimation to do voiceover stuff. I know that. So, I mean, he can. I just don't know how well that will work for him. And also, he can sue the news organizations, but all they did was say, hey, these are the accusations. And they've done that with a lot of other actors, both in the U.S. and in Japan. So, and not just Anime News Network, I'm talking about any news organization has done that. So I feel like it would be hard for a judge, and I want to keep it real here, it would be hard for a judge to say, oh, let's let that go through, because if they do, when a ruling happens, it usually sets up a precedent for something.
Yeah.
And that can open up a Pandora's box of a lot of people saying, who are public figures, oh yeah, well, they posted demonstrably untrue things about me, and they call them allegations because they are, but it doesn't matter. I'm still suing them into oblivion. Like, this is much different than, like, other publications that consider themselves publications, but really they're just gossip rags. Like, right. This isn't a gossip rag situation. Anime News Network has seemingly done their, because I don't know, I don't work with them or anything like that, so, like, I have no idea, like, if they've actually done this, but from the looks of it, they seemingly have done their due diligence. So, I don't know, man. To me, it feels as if he's probably doing this because he might be like, is someone going to sue me? Well, I'm going to get a lawyer, and we're going to talk, and we're going to see what I can do to protect myself.
Yeah.
And, of course, when he talks about his friend, of course, that friend is Nick Rietta, who some people are trying to shit on the guy for doing blackface. And, like, this was, like, 10 years ago. And here's my stance, right? Don't fucking do blackface. Like, I'm pretty sure that should be something that in 2019 should be a given. But I don't really see how it relates to him, right? Like, people can try to dunk on Nick Rietta any way they want to, but to do it by saying, like, oh, he did blackface, it's like, I don't feel like that's relevant to this. Like, if Nick Rietta was like, I'm here because I'm here for every race, I'd be like, well, Nick Rietta, are you here for blackface as well? Because you've done blackface. Like, that's a different situation. But the fact that Nick Rietta is, discussing this and stuff like that. Now, I said that he is seemingly his counsel. That we should clarify that even though Nick Rietta was first talking about, Recchietta was first talking about this, when we go over to Vic's Twitter, he says a friend had talked about the GoFundMe. So that doesn't mean that Recchietta is actually representing Mignogna. Yes. And I believe that Recchietta is not legally allowed to solicit this from Vic. So I think maybe that's why Vic is like, yeah, no, we can't do this. Like, you can have the GoFundMe up, but we can't do this. Now, taking a look at the GoFundMe, out of its $100,000 goal, it has raised $73,935 as of this recording. What's a little odd to me, though, isn't that it's raised that much because, hey, okay. It's more so the fact that it even exists, because usually a lawyer will not have to take that money until after the fact. So I do wonder if Vic, again, it's just speculation, is actually wondering about being sued, not suing for damages.
Yeah.
Because if Vic was suing anyone for damages, I think he would be like, no, I don't need the GoFundMe. I think he's legitimately wondering, hey, if this is needed for lawyer fees, because I might be getting sued. Like, again, I'm not saying he thinks he's getting sued because he's done anything wrong. It's just the idea that, in a situation like this, you are a little bit nervous, right? When he's been accused of what he's been accused of, you're nervous. You want to retain legal counsel. So I think he's retaining that counsel, and maybe not to sue, just to think, oh, if I do get sued, then this GoFundMe money will work to pay lawyer fees. Now, it is a little odd because he said he will not be personally receiving any of it. Now, I know that technically means, oh, I'm not taking that money and, like, buying a new house, right?
Yeah, right.
But you are paying off lawyer fees, so you are personally receiving it. I know it's technically not and believe me, look, I love that he's trying to, give any surplus money away to, a violence and abuse shelter, especially domestic violence and abuse shelter. Some people will call into question the Salvation Army because they are very, very, very religious, and not religious like good religious, like, you know, like Catholics who love each other, who want to work together, who want to help everyone out. They're religious where, like, if I'm trying to think of how to word this, because if I remember correctly, it would be a thing where, like, oh, this, you know, like in their domestic violence and abuse shelter, they might not accept people who are in the LGBTQ plus community. So you might have someone who's like, I am a gay man who has been, or a gay woman who's been domestically abused, and they might not accept you because they have the right to refuse. So, yeah. But again, some people will say that, but frankly, I'm happy he is discussing giving any surplus away to any organization. The problem, though, is, and it's not with Vic in this case, because irregardless of what you think about Vic Mignogna, I just think that the problem comes from Nick Recchietta, who, you know, some people online, maybe they're fans of his, they're going to go, well, why don't you trust Nick Recchietta, Matt? Because I literally don't know who this person is until he started talking about Vic Mignogna. I'm not saying he's never, and I mean never, shown up or done anything at all, right? It's just I've never heard of this dude. And then when you go to his Twitter, as you guys can see we have up right now, he says, hey, I'm Nick Recchietta, a lawyer and free speech advocate. My law firm is Recchietta Law. Please call me before you talk to the police. And instead of having like a link to an address or what state he might even be in, granted, you can have a digital law firm. I don't think that's a problem. But still, you know, especially digital age that we're in now. But when you're like, oh, how do I even contact this guy? You have to go to his YouTube to then find his about section, to then find his business email, which we're not going to show here because, you know, another thing too, by the way, we always mention this, but we want to mention it again. Don't harass this Recchietta, dude. Like, regardless of what you think about him, do not harass him. So, but still, though, you see it as links. It says Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. So, like, he doesn't even seemingly have a website set up?
Right.
I don't know, man.
You'd think the first link you would have would be to your law firm. But... Yeah,
because and then in the description for his YouTube channel, it says, Nick Recchietta, a Minnesota lawyer and owner of Recchietta Law, discusses legal topics and breaks down lawsuits, often over scotch. Because, yes, he does these live streams, allegedly while drinking. We don't know if it's, like, part of a character or, like, he's just like, yeah, I'm just going to drink and we'll have some fun while talking about law topics. But still, I don't know, man. Like, look, I know that we're not the bastion of professionalism, but it's just when I don't know, him calling himself a lawyer. And by the way, I should say he is, because people have looked it up. I don't know if it was in Minnesota or where he originally practiced law, but he is on the books.
Right.
But still, I don't know, man. Like, there's something fishy about this, in my opinion, and it's not on Vic Mignogna's side. Tristan, tell me what you think.
No, I mean, I agree. I'm glad he's seeking, you know, legal counsel. And, I mean, I guess you could say you'd hope it wouldn't, like, if you found yourself in that kind of position, you would hope it wouldn't have to come to that. But, again, with the type of allegations that are in this situation, I feel like we've gone through a crazy spiral of all of this going out of control.
Yeah.
And so legal counsel probably should have been the first move.
It should have been. I mean, because the reason why we're saying Tristan's saying this too, because I think maybe I'm wrong, but it's a callback to what you and I originally said, where Vic Mignogna was making so many statements. He probably should have made less statements and just discussed and had a lawyer there to tell him, all right, Vic, say it this way or say this way or don't do that. Don't go on your go on your public Discord where people who are in there could screenshot and send it out, because then it immediately negates what you just said in your apology. Don't do that. Don't do this in front of fans. Do it on video maybe, but don't do it in front of fans. Because, and look, I'm not a lawyer, so maybe he'd say the exact opposite, right? But still, you want to retain legal counsel when you're making statements like these, or some type of PR firm in some way. Because, because look, I understand that some people are like, no, but you don't want it to seem like the same cookie cutter garbage. And that's true. Some things that Vic Mignogna has said maybe a PR firm would say don't say, and they were good things, right? But I do think some other things, I don't know, I feel like some people would be like, like some, you know, lawyers or like a PR firm or something like that would be like, don't say that, Vic. Maybe don't say that. Maybe just consolidate this into one thing, or maybe just do and kind of help you work on what you're saying online, because it's not good to kind of release all this stuff online because it also potentially taints a future trial.
Right.
So you don't want to do that either. So there's just a lot of stuff that, you know, you have to worry about. But no, I was referring more so not to Vic Mignogna, Tristan, but to Recchietta, the idea that it seems like something's a little bit fishy. Again, we're not saying the guy's not a lawyer. We're not saying that he doesn't have Vic's best interest in mind. It's just that we don't know this dude. And I think before you give to a GoFundMe, you should probably know the dude.
Yeah.
And looking at the story, it talks about Vic Mignogna. By the way, he does say I'm not representing Vic in the legal capacity in the GoFundMe. But still, though, when looking at the GoFundMe, though, in general, it seems like he is actually talking about Vic more than himself. And I know he's not representing Vic. So it's like, oh, why would I talk about myself? And it's like, because you're handling the funds.
Right, yeah. No, for me, the odd part is why he would come out to make the GoFundMe in the first place.
He could just be a fan of Vic. It seems unprofessional.
I mean, sure.
It seems very unprofessional, in my opinion, if he's a lawyer. Not if he's a lawyer, he's a fucking lawyer. But it seems very unprofessional. But still, though, he's legally... I'm pretty sure he's legally allowed to do it. I'm pretty sure he's... Yeah. I mean, you have... It's funny. It just doesn't seem right. Something feels off.
I mean, it just kind of feels like what's your stake in it? Like, I guess if he's just a fan, I mean, sure, but like... I
mean, I don't... Look,
I don't want to be
like a cynic.
He came out of nowhere with it. I don't know.
Right. I mean, I don't want to be a cynic. But I'm going to say this. I'm going to suppose this, because sadly I haven't been able to check out his live streams. And even if I have after the fact, we don't know if they were during the live streams. We have to ask the question, does he have ad revenue on the live streams? Now, I don't want to get into a deep dive. I don't think this guy, is doing enough damage for me to sit there. And I don't think he's, from what I've heard, he hasn't really called out anyone or like drawn any ire to anybody and getting them harassed more. So that's why I don't want to talk about him and like his analytics and his, and the money he's making off that. Because I don't want to get into that, because he's a lawyer. So he could also be making his money on, the side being a lawyer. But... or giving people advice or things like that. But my whole thing is that you're saying, Tristan, like, oh, well, what stake does he have in this other than being a fan? I do wonder if potentially views or money
or if he's
come into it.
If he was, I don't know, if he's the friend that Vic is...
No, yeah, exactly.
Statement, and he is in the legal business, so he would say to him, look, you should go for legal counsel. Here, I'll set up a page to help you with funds for it. And
that could be it. And also something else to note as well before we wrap this up, something that I do think should be acknowledged as well, that I think we have kind of glossed over. I still feel like Vic shouldn't even be accepting this for lawyer fees, because to me anyway, it just, I don't know, man. It's something that, okay, this is how I want to word it, right? So I'm trying to really think about it and how it comes out. I'm not saying he's a millionaire, because he's not, right? Definitely not. But it's just, it's really rough to accept money from fans in this capacity. Like, if Vic was selling t-shirts, I wouldn't care. Yeah, even if he sold like #IStandWithVic on a shirt, it'd be like, Vic, I think you should step back away from this and maybe not sell that shirt. Vic, do not sell that shirt. Vic, do not sell that shirt. But but still, though, Vic was selling shirts in general. I mean, Vic used to sell CDs with Bible readings on them where he did character voices. Bless his heart, dude. Like, go, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's, do what you need to do to make some cash, right? Like, so that was fine to me. He's done autograph signings, of course. I don't know like how much he charges per signing, and if he doesn't, then also bless your heart. Like, I don't, like, making money isn't the problem. The problem is that in this capacity, because it's about, like, it's just, already it seems like it's getting off on the wrong foot, trying to get like a redemption thing going and trying to like what's the word I'm looking for? You're trying to save your reputation because you're taking money from fans. And if they're willing to give money to Vic, I mean, personally, if I was still like really into Vic Mignogna, was like, I love you, Vic, I would potentially wait till he gets invited to a con and then spend my money to go or see him at that con. or if Vic wants to hold like a meetup at a bar or something like that, you know, because, you know, some bars, depending on where you are in the US, like they'll have meet and greets and stuff like that, you know, with actors and authors and stuff like that.
Right. Yeah.
I don't know, man. Like, I feel like this is already the wrong foot. And also, if something goes wrong, like, even though this is a friend of Vic, seemingly, but if something somehow went horribly wrong in the process, that still, even though Vic disavowed himself legally, it wouldn't look good on Vic socially, and in the court of public opinion. So it's funny, like, some people think like we're super against Vic. I actually want him to like be careful with this, because this is something that if it backfires in any way, it looks bad on Vic. And then now he got people pissed off who were super huge fans of his, who actually donated to the GoFundMe. So anything you want to say before we wrap this one up, Tristan?
I think that's good.
All right. So this one is just, you know, it again, I think it's good that he's retaining legal counsel, but, you know, I mean, I think people jumped on this too quickly, where immediately they were like, hey, you know, he's suing everybody. And it's like, that's not what legal counsel means. Like, legal counsel can mean anything. So, yeah. But either way, though, yeah, I hope that the story develops. I hope we can see more from this. And, yeah, I hope that, you know, we see where this goes. And I hope everything goes okay. Like, I hope that if for some reason you know, maybe he doesn't need a lawyer, I hope that the money then goes back to the people.